It is good to be back in the throne, in the seat that is this chair. It's been another 7 days. It's just been busy. It's been busy. It's been another 7 days. I'm sorry, I was unable to do anything Tuesday or Thursday. Tuesday I had to go get the dog, and then Thursday it was just a lot. A lot of stuff going on in the past week. But we are back for another episode of Free Refill. It is episode number 56, and we have, after a jam-packed week last week, I've got so much to get into here today. I first have to get into, I've got to talk about the national championship game that I was last Monday. It's been a week now since national championship. I got to get my thoughts and talk about that for a little bit. Today, we got a jam-packed one. The NBA playoffs officially kick off with the play-in tournament starting tomorrow. So I'll be doing my NBA playoff predictions, ahead of time. I will also be doing my own NFL draft, my own little mock draft that I've already started here. That's going to kick off at almost 2 weeks from now, right? It's going to be upcoming. It's coming up real soon. It's coming up real quick. So I figured I'd get my early mock draft out. I might make some changes as we go along, but hey, that's just how I roll. Sometimes I'm just thinking different things. It is 7:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've got some stuff to get into. I've got some stuff to chat about, to yap about, to just dilly-dally about. So I am very excited to get into that. So I hope you all are having a luxurious Monday evening. And I've got to get started. I've got to just start ripping stuff off. I've got 1 hour here, and it might not be even enough. So let's get started with some of the major headlines. The first major headline that I've got to get into is the obvious Michigan and their victory over UConn. That was, I got to say, a week's removed from that game. It did kind of feel pretty clear that Michigan was obviously the heavy favorite going in. And after having watched the game, I'm honestly impressed that how well UConn played, considering they kept it fairly close, all things considered. The one thing that I didn't understand remotely, though, what I will say is that game could have gotten out of hand way earlier had Michigan actually started knocking down their threes early. You got to give UConn their credit. They were great in the paint the entirety of the game. Not the entirety, for the majority of the game. It just ended up eventually Michigan was going to start burying threes, and that's pretty much what happened and why UConn was unfortunately just unable to keep up down the stretch. Got to give credit to Dan Hurley's and their crew. An exceptional run, all things considered, for the Huskies and for what they were able to do. But Michigan was a powerhouse. Michigan was very much stacked right from the jump. But a lot of people had them winning it all, and it makes sense now that you see it. What you see with Mara, what you see with Yaxel, you saw that crew, and it was just a room full of dogs, a room full of men, and it was going to be difficult for just about anybody to not just knock them off, to actually keep it close. UConn was really the only team that kept it remotely close throughout the entirety of the tournament for Michigan's run. So hats off to the Wolverines, very impressive, and credit the UConn Huskies as well. What they managed to do was, and from my perspective, very impressive, all things considered. But I just wanted to get that off my chest, talk about the national championship, get my little snippet in, because I missed it. I wasn't here most of last week to even talk about it, so that's why I had to get it out now. And I'm going to be getting into, of course, the NBA playoffs. I'm going to be getting into the draft, but I do have to address a major elephant in the room that I've been thinking about since it was reported on late last week, and that is the Dianna Russini situation. The entirety of this, I have found this both equally comical and equally sad for I feel fairly obvious reasons, but if not, of course, I'm going to get into it. For one, the memes about when any of this stuff happens, especially when people are digging up old and past clips on this, and somehow no one being able to be like, oh wow, yeah, we should have seen this coming. It should have been coming from a mile away. That Dianna was, just not really a huge fan of her husband in general, and so that ended up being, of course, leading into this. affair with Mike Vrabel, who apparently this might not be true. I think her husband it was like a senior manager of a Shake Shack. Don't quote me on that. That may have just been like some Google AI crap, but that's what I had seen at least. But in all seriousness, I have a huge issue with this whole Russini bit, this whole problem that's happened, and it is basically set back women in sports journalism by a solid, I would say, at least 5 years, maybe 7. This has been this, and the same thing happened when Joy Taylor and the Emmanuel Acho stuff came out. This is just bad. It's bad for journalism in general. It's bad specifically for sports journalism, and it's bad for women in sports journalism. And I understand women are going to get critiqued to a higher level than the majority of men are. Like Skip Bayless still got away with basically what he did. But this just doesn't paint a good picture. I mean, already the majority of corporations attempt to bring down people who are of any sort of minority, and yet to do this, knowing the consequences of what if this happens if this gets out, is absurd. It's absurd to me. It is absurd to me that now the entirety of this, and it's such a stain. To me, this entire situation is just such a stain on the entirety of journalism, whether it's Russini and her affair with Vrabel, or Skip Bayless and his sexual harassment allegations or charges, and Joy Taylor and Emmanuel Acho's love affair. It is just reeks of unprofessionalism. It is so distasteful. And not to say that this stuff doesn't happen in workplaces. It does in probably more workplaces than I could possibly count. But for it to be something that is so televised and so talked about, and you know it's going to be talked about, and you know if at any moment someone finds out that it's going to be a bad idea, no doy! Just don't do it. Don't get involved with a head coach. It does, none of it makes any sense. Now, I think The Athletic, who she reports for, is basically kind of she's on leave, essentially. I don't think she gets fired necessarily. I don't think she should be. But use your brain. Use your brain for like 2 minutes. And just don't. Because it's not just a reflection on you. It's a reflection on the entirety of your organization. It's a reflection on the entire gender that reports in your field. You've just tainted the entirety of it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And it blows my mind every time. It blows my mind every single time in the last few years that this stuff has come out. And I'm like, why can't we just be like, not morons? Why can't we be like some reasonably intelligent people? And it's like, man, this is the world that I want to get into, right? And I have to find out now that, we got someone who's just a straight up idiot who doesn't get that, yeah, if you're in an affair and you are around a figure that is probably going to be in front of a camera a lot, yeah, someone's going to find out. And who found out? Everybody. Everybody found out. No sense, no logic, no rhyme or reason, no logical thinking was done. And yet, here we are. Now, the women in sports, I apologize on behalf of Dianna Russini, I guess, because that's criminal. It's embarrassing. It's insane. Marcus, what is up? I'm just gonna welcome into today's episode. Appreciate you for joining up. Asking who the oh my gosh, Shake Shack husband is crazy. It was her, I guess her husband, who's not Vrabel, is apparently like a Shake Shack manager. I don't know if that's entirely true, but that's what I had read for like a blurb for a second while I was preparing today's episode. So I was like, that's a little tidbit. Affairs ain't nothing. The Peephole Hotel video makes you famous. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. A little hotel video. But you can talk about an affair and it doesn't mean anything. When it's an affair with a head coach and you're a reporter on sports, your credibility just takes a nosedive straight into the toilet immediately. Effective immediately. Like, the grain of salt that people will have with everything you say is so big, it could kill 1 million slugs. That's how big the grain of salt is that is going to come with anything you report on, because now you are just the reporter who had an affair with the Patriots head coach. That's it. Mike Vrabel is still going to be known as the Patriots head coach. You are now just the reporter who had an affair with Mike Vrabel. That's it. That's your name now. Your name is no longer Dianna. Your name's not even Russini at that point. You are just the reporter who had sex with Mike Vrabel. And we don't even know if that's true, right? Obviously, there's still an investigation going on. But based on all of it, nah. It's just, that's who you are now. It's never going to go away. Impossible. Impossible for it to go away. You need to do something absolutely wild and outlandish for something like that to go away. And it wouldn't even go away. It would just be not as big as the next crazy thing you would do. That's the reality. Marcus says, Hazini. Dog. What is this, Aladdin now? Is this what this is? We're gonna have Robin Williams coming out playing the voice. Bring him back, man. Oh my gosh, bring back Robin Williams, man. I miss that man. That picture makes it look like she's reacting to an unsolicited dick pic. No, that picture. I'm gonna be honest. That picture is like me watching the Jets offense. That's my reaction to the Jets offense. That's anybody's reaction to the Jets offense is right there. That's actually hilarious. Watching the Jets offense is the equivalent of getting an unsolicited dick pic. Like, you just give it that look like, ugh. What? Jay is also here. Jay, welcome in. Let me get your applause as well. Saying, back shots and misinformation. Tom Brady's coming back. Tom Brady's going to come off the Raiders. He's going to, like, sell his ownership stock and say, nope. Drake, we don't need you anymore. Drake May, we're all good. Tom Brady is here. I'm still astounded by the entirety of this whole thing. It blows my mind. It's still, like, how hard is it to keep your genitalia in your pants, man or woman? How hard is it? Is it really that difficult? Is it really that hard? I mean, I'll be honest, I don't get hit on that often, but I'm going to be real. I kind of like to use my brain. It's one of my stronger muscles. How is it not anyone else's? Just think for 2 seconds, man. You know how this ends. And sure enough, it ends like this. But I mean, and it's not the only time, right? And it just speaks to the clown show that so much of sports journalism already has become. Like, when you think about it, this is, like, unfortunately, as much as this story pisses me off, it's such a drop in the bucket, right? From Russini to Skip Bayless's crap to Joy Taylor and Emmanuel Acho to all of the rage bait, clickbait, reaction takes. Like, it just upsets me so much that sports journalism is in the place that it is at. And whether it's so negative, it's so much garbage, it's so much clickbait crap, and this just fuels into that even more of just being so unprofessional, so unreliable, so meaningless. It could be so much better. I'm being serious. Sports journalism has felt like it's been dead since Stuart Scott passed. When we lost Stuart Scott, the most amazing man, it's, in my opinion, sports journalism, easily like top 5 for me. And when he was gone, everything just was never the same. It was never been the same since we lost Stuart Scott. We need to res him. We need to revive him and bring him back and get back to what sports used to be. What talking about sports used to be. Ugh. I hope that there's hope. I really do. I think there is. There has to be someone. We have to get someone with Stuart Scott's level of, professionalism and integrity and just fun attitude. I want that back. Jay saying, I mean, they did have Favre doing it while he was there, so fair comparison. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I see what you're on about there. I mean, married life is like celibacy for most. The way she talked about her husband, bro, like, she sounded like she hated this guy. Like, she openly dissed her husband on, like, I think they had like a Russino or Russini podcast or whatever, she would like diss the absolute crap out of him. It was wild to me how much that this the clips. Go watch the clips. I like this was all like in the last couple years too. Like, oh my gosh, this may have been going on for even longer than we thought. Who knows? This may have been going on for years and we didn't know. Jay also said Stu was one of a kind. He really was, man. Everything about him, like his catchphrase, his calls too. Oh my gosh, I remember. I think I've talked about this. I remember watching. I think it was the highlight video after the game had concluded of. I think it was Colts Bengals in the playoffs, and it was Rich Eisen doing the highlights, and he was doing all of Stu's slogans as like kind of like a tribute, and it was so cool to see. And I know they had a moment of silence for him at the beginning of the game, and I miss Stuart Scott. I want him back. Take me back to Stuart Scott, man. Like a man smoking at a gas station. He was about to blow up. Love that one. There's a couple other ones too but we'd be here all day if we were reminiscing about Stuart Scott. I got to get into the big main two titles, the things I want to get into. First off, I got to get into the NBA playoff predictions. The NBA playoffs, well, technically the play-in, but I'm going to count it as playoffs. Tip off officially tomorrow night. I believe it's Hornets. Is it Hornets Heat? I want to say, yeah, Hornets Heat in the 9 and 10 in the East, and then the Suns will play against the Trailblazers for the 7 and 8. This is going to be a very interesting playoff picture, just because I think the way it's changed in the last month or so, it hasn't changed significantly, but the changes that have been made, I'm going to see if I can pull up a bracket that'll allow me to just make my picks as I go, but okay, I don't know why, 2026 NBA playoffs. Fill-in bracket. I don't know. There's got to be like a way. There's got to be like a spot where I can like play a fill-in bracket. There's no way that there's not. Come on, just let me do it. Let me do it, please. See, I don't understand it. Like, how would it be ever? Jay also saying Hornets Suns. I'm kind of there. I'm to believe it or not, I'm more confident. I'm much more confident in the Hornets Suns, or excuse me, the Hornets over the Heat. I'm much more confident in that pick as opposed to the Suns beating the Trailblazers for a couple of reasons. We haven't particularly played well. We did close out strong with a win against the Thunder, so I'm feeling a little bit better going into the playoffs, but also at the same time, it's like, dude. So let me pull this up. Let me see if I can just get this on the screen real quick. Hold on. I'm gonna try this real quick. Let me go into Hi guys. I was recording something earlier. That's why I needed my camera like that. So just so you know, that's why that is that way. And then let me grab the 2026 playoff picture and just blow it up. Boom. There it is. Look at that. There's your playoff picture. So obviously the play-ins are going to start first. It will be Heat, Hornets, and Suns, Trailblazers. Trailblazers do scare me a little bit. I won't deny that. There's definitely some fear there. However, despite all of that, I'm fairly confident the Suns will be able to win. Book's still playing pretty well. CG12 has been, Mr. Colin Gillespie. He's been doing it, or Gillespie. I always mispronounce it somehow. But Colin's been playing incredibly well. Kuman Mulak is starting to get an actual rotation and to start to actually get real minutes, which is exciting. I honestly think the Suns will down the Trailblazers, and then with what the Hornets are doing, LaMelo Ball's actually had a fairly decent year, all things considered. I think somehow he might get an All NBA team this year, which is kind of nuts from how much I've trashed him before in the past. And of course, Colin Knippel in the race for Rookie of the Year is very exciting as well. I think it's still going to go to Cooper Flagg, and today I would probably give it to Flagg, but I'll probably have an episode where I do a lot more of the NBA awards in a separate video. So I think I would still probably give it to Flagg today. Just because especially the last month has been incredibly impressive for him. I would definitely say, though, that the Hornets would down the Heat, the Suns would down the Trailblazers. And then the other matchups, I mean, gosh, it's got to be Clippers, right? There's no way that the Warriors have just been limping the entire season. The fact that they're even in at the 10 slot is shocking to me at 37 wins. It's just really just goes to show how bad it is the tanking race has been. But I will say credit to the Clippers. We don't have to worry. Like, because remember, we were all worried that OKC would be getting like another top 5 pick in this next draft. Now, at the very least, the Clippers have kind of, made that more unlikely. That's probably not going to happen. I would say the Clippers would win there, and the Suns would play the Spurs for the 7 seed. If I had to go between, say, Warriors, Clippers, Blazers. Clippers, Blazers is tough. I think I'm going to roll Clippers purely based off experience. They're just a little bit more of an experienced team than like a young Trailblazers team that still doesn't really fully have their footing. I mean, they've had a good year, don't get me wrong, but I just think if someone like Kawhi Leonard is going to play in that game and play very well, then I think the Blazers would be in trouble. That being said, nobody from the 7 to 10 range in the West has any chance against the Thunder or the Spurs. Nobody. I don't even think any of them win. Take it to 6. I think they would both lose at 4 or 5. Whether it's the Suns, the Trailblazers, the Clippers, or the Warriors, they just don't have the firepower to be able to contend against those 1 and 2 seeds. The other side's a little bit more interesting. So 76ers Magic, I really also. So right now I would have Clippers probably going to play the Thunder, and then Suns playing the Spurs. As for the plan on the other side, Hornets would probably beat the Heat. The question is, who would they play between 76ers Magic? To be honest, I can't really take the Magic too seriously. Every time I think Paolo is going to be, the real deal, he really isn't. And I think the 76ers, to their credit, have actually done, they can, I think they're much more in a position where they could beat the Magic with, let's say Embiid, if Embiid plays, right, VJ Edgecombe, Maxey, Paul George kind of having a crazy resurgence out of nowhere. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but it's happening, right? So I would go there. I would say the 76ers probably advance to play the Celtics, leaving the Magic to face the Hornets, and the Magic lose there too. I think the Hornets are too fun. I think ultimately the Hornets are a little diabolical. They're fun. They're fun. They're much better with, obviously they're much better with Knippel, but what Knippel and I think honestly the Hornets will make a really nice jump next year from the 9 seed. I think they'll be closer to like a 5 or a 6 next year, which would be huge. Actually see Charlotte be relevant, be very exciting. So yeah, that would leave the Hornets to go to Detroit, go play the Pistons, and then the 76ers would play the Celtics. I would say this also. I kind of think, how do I feel about this? I know there's a lot of people, not necessarily a lot of people, but I know there's been a sort of what would be called, let me think. How do I put this? A lot of calls being made about the Pistons being overrated just because they don't really have a second scorer outside of Cade. But if they play a good enough defense in the East, they could very much easily still make the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think that's anyone's doubt. I think the Hornets as an 8 seed would be a tougher matchup than a lot of people would expect, but I still would take the Pistons to beat them. Yeah, I think just Cade and company would probably beat Charlotte in that situation. I've already talked Thunder and Spurs are just going to be second round defaults in my their default making to the second round. And then I think the Celtics would handle business against the 76ers or the Magic. It doesn't really matter. It could be either one, and it's not really going to be an issue, especially because, again, what was it? The Knicks barely made it out against the Celtics, and Celtics were down Jaylen Brown. And then Knicks fans are like, let's go! I'm like, cool. We just beat the Celtics without their quote unquote MVP. You know what I mean? It's okay, sure. And plus, Jason Tatum's only going to get healthier as the playoff go on. You would think, right? So, yeah, Celtics would wipe the floor with either of these two teams. Now, the rest of the bracket, the middle seeds are actually what I am the most excited for, to be completely honest. Cavs Raptors is honestly a toss-up. I know that the Cavs are record-wise significantly better, but I wouldn't sleep on Toronto and Scotty Barnes and company. I still would probably take Cleveland if I'm picking today, but the Raptors could very easily win that game. Or win that series, rather. I don't... However, the way that James Harden is, with James Harden, with Donovan Mitchell, I don't think they get bounced round one. I think especially after the way last year ended. You know what? That actually makes more sense for them to get bounced round one with the way last year ended. I'm going to roll Cavs for now in like 7. I would say that's a series that could definitely go to 7. In the West, Lakers, Rockets, I mean, pick your poison. Both aren't, I mean, Luka with his injury. It's either like, are the Rockets really that terrible? Have the Rockets been so bad that they could not beat the Lakers without Luka? That's the real question, right? I think I'm going to be biased and just kind of pick the Lakers just because I don't want KD winning a playoff series. But I mean, the Rockets have been so seemingly disjointed. Like, they don't feel as nearly... I mean, I remember they were like one of the title potential contenders at the start of the year, and they just don't feel like that now. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I'm probably rolling. When does Luka come back? When is Luka supposed to be ready? Like, back in Los Angeles. He's coming back tomorrow. But the question is he actually going... So he is looking to return. If Luka plays and is healthy, Rockets lose. Like, I just don't think... I don't think... the Rockets, their best chance to win a series is against the Lakers, and I don't even think it happens, presuming Luka is healthy. Then on the other Western side, you have Nuggets, Timberwolves, which honestly... I think if I'm the Spurs, I would probably be pulling for Minnesota because I really don't want to play the Nuggets. Like, the Nuggets are... Like, I wouldn't want to play against Jokic and company. I just don't think it's remotely a very good matchup for them. I think the Nuggets do down the Timberwolves, though. I understand that a lot of people, the Timberwolves match up with them well a couple years ago. I think now, though... Now you don't have the Twin Tower defense in the form of Rudy and Cat. I don't think it works out as well for the Timberwolves. They still work, like, they still match up to a certain degree, but I don't think the Timberwolves have the same ability as they would have a couple years ago to be able to match up with the Denver Nuggets. So I would probably take Jokic and the Nuggets to go and advance to face the Spurs. And then it would be Lakers, Thunder, and I think the Thunder just cook would like. I mean, I think they would beat them regardless of whether it's the Lakers or the Rockets. I just don't see a situation where the Thunder lose that series unless like rampant injuries somehow happen. I just don't see it. The other option then following, say, and then it would just be, and then Spurs Nuggets comes down to. Oh, gosh. It really comes down to how well Wemby plays. Because I think Jokic is going to do what he's going to do. But if Wemby, let's say, doesn't like make that step-up moment in the playoffs, which, I mean, is unlikely. Gosh, I don't know. It's tough. Because it's weird to see the Spurs in a place of youth. Because for so long, they were always felt like a veteran team as opposed to like a youthful team. When it came to the playoffs, anyway. Jokic can take anybody to 7, though. That's the issue. Like, I think Jokic and the Nuggets could pretty much take anybody to 7. I'm gonna roll. Screw it. I'm gonna go Nuggets. I think Nuggets upset the Spurs. I don't know if that's even considered an upset, but I think somehow, some way, Jokic gets it done. They win in 7, and then they would lose to the Thunder, and I just think the Thunder make the finals. It's just. As boring as it is, I think that's just like ideally I would want either Spurs or Nuggets. I don't even know. Actually, no. I feel like Timberwolves could be fun too, but it's probably like my ideal pick that's the most realistic is probably Spurs, but I just think the Thunder are going to get there. As annoying as it is. think the Thunder would get there. On the East side, I'm going to roll with the Cavs for now, but my opinion could change in like the next 24 hours very easily. Knicks Hawks. Okay, let's talk Knicks Hawks for a second. Isn't it kind of like, isn't it so sick and twisted if the Hawks win this series? When you think about what the Knicks have done in the last several years to try to get better, to get to an Eastern Conference Finals, if they lose this series to the Hawks, oh my gosh, it is the most heartbreaking thing in the world. Because once again, like remember, they had already lost to Trae Young on the Hawks in the Julius Randle days, like when Julius Randle was the main guy. Now you've made all this progress. You have Jalen Brunson, you have Cat, you have Mikal Bridges. You moved off Thibs to go get Mike Brown, and then you just get ousted in the first round again to the Hawks in the same way. Like if that were to happen, New York City might burn. It might be one of the most tragic things to ever happen. It would be devastating. It would be devastating to the New York fan base. No trigger train Knicks. Okay. I think they'd win. I think the Knicks do win this series. I think they win it in a similar fashion to the way they beat the Pistons last year. I think it's probably a 6-game series, and I think they win in 6. They win in a close 6. I think like that 6 game is close. But the Hawks remember at one point, I think Hawks were on like a 10-game winning streak at one point down the stretch in the year. So they were playing very well. And Jalen Johnson is like playing himself into an all-NBA category. I mean, he probably will just miss, but I think he should be in that conversation. I think the Knicks would win. I think then moving on to play the Celtics, they probably lose that series. I know that they beat them last year. I don't think they do it again. Because part of me... Because here's the problem, right? The problem with the Knicks is that they have the exact same issues as they did last year. And I think, yes, beating the Celtics is one thing, but I would also say this Celtics team is arguably better, much better than last year, and like they're not even relying on Jason Tatum at this point. So I think they would I think the Celtics would beat the Knicks in like a 7-game series, I would say. And then I think it would be Pistons over Cavs, and then I think due to experience, I think the Celtics would beat the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals and play the Thunder. And then from there, I really don't know. I would probably say Thunder just because I think their roster is better. But that right now, and what sucks is like that's the most boring. Like I would really rather have it be anybody else. Like Pistons, I would rather see. Spurs, I would rather see. Knicks, I would rather see. Nuggets, Lakers. Like I would see any other matchup outside of that. But I just think those are the two. Those teams feel like the most complete, especially with the Celtics getting Jason Tatum at the time that they did. I mean, I just don't see I don't see an alternative. I don't really see any other options that make logical sense. The only other logical options that maybe the Pistons and the Spurs meet, that would be like my personal like fun bowl. They're like the fun finals, right? I don't know, but Celtics and Thunder is probably going to be the finals matchup. Either that or it's Spurs Celtics. It's either Spurs Celtics or Thunder Celtics because I feel I'm so not sure if because again I think what the Pistons do on any nightly basis is solely Cade Cunningham, whereas if you're the Celtics, you know you have guys like if Brown's having an off night, you at least have guys like Tatum and a good enough around roster to be able to actually make consistent shots. Detroit doesn't have a second reliable scorer, and that won't affect them as much. That can affect them certainly against the Hornets, but it's definitely going to matter against teams like the Celtics and even the Cavs or Raptors, whoever they end up playing. It'll be interesting. It'll be a very interesting playoffs, though, for sure. I think this is honestly... You know what I will say? I am very happy that the Hawks, Heat... What was it? It was Hawks, Heat, Bulls. Like, that... Like, play-in is like dead. It's annoying that Miami is somehow still there, but at the very least, we don't see those same play-in teams again. We get a little bit more variety. Like the Hawks have risen above it. The Bulls have somehow shrunk below it, and the Heat are still right there. Oh my gosh, it's absurd. It's some wild shenanigans. I don't know how the Heat do it every year. They're always there. They got people. Nobody's saying Kobe anymore. Everybody's saying Bam, Bam, Bam. Oh, that was a tough one. That was tough for me to even hear, but it is what it is. But let me know your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? Who is that? Is that the likely option? Because I feel like it is, but I don't know. Honestly, the most fun option to me is Suns Hornets. Which, I mean, if Hornets and Suns advance all the way, that's the best finals for me. I enjoy that one very much. So, I mean, we'll have to see where things go in the postseason. And again, like, you never know. Like, someone could get hot, like an Indiana Pacers team. Like, somebody could just go off. Like, imagine Jalen Johnson has like a sort of Tyrese Halliburton-esque run. Like, you never know. You just never know. So, but tonight's going to be exciting. I'll definitely be tuning in, of course, to see. Honestly, what's crazy is I'd be okay, like, purely to see, because I think what's crazy is that I think matchup-wise, I think Phoenix has a better chance against OKC than we do against San Antonio, based on what I saw, especially towards the end of the regular season as opposed to the beginning. But that'll all depend coming into the playoffs. I mean, we're probably not making it out of the first round, but hey, it's way better than what I thought. I thought we were going to be bottom of the barrel without a first round pick, so we at least have something, but we got to build on what we were able to do in the regular season, because so far the remainder just it ain't been what we've been up to. We got to do a little bit better. But that is my current playoff prediction. Things may change. I don't know. Of course, I'll be reacting to each of the games as they go, so I'll be prepared for that. However, there is one more thing I got to do. Of course, we've already been talking about the NBA playoffs. Let's get into the draft, baby. The draft, the NFL draft that's taking place in Pittsburgh, and what is it, next week or the following week? I gotta make. It's always like towards the end of April, but I'm never exactly sure. The 23rd or the 25th. So that is the end of next week. So we have less than 2 weeks' time to discuss where we think teams are going, where we think prospects are headed, and so far, I have like the first 13 picks of what I think should happen. What I think should be the draft pick for each of these teams. So I'm excited to get into it. I'm going to not have it on the screen because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but I'm going to go through what I have so far. Let's start, and again, this is presuming no trades. This is presuming that everybody keeps their pick where it is right now, and obviously that is probably not going to happen. There are probably going to be draft day trades. But this is where I have it right now up until, and then like after like I have picks 1 through 13, and then once we get to the 14th pick, I'm going to actually have to look through and see who would take who. But enough beating around the bush. I'm going to get into it. Starting off with the Las Vegas Raiders. The obvious pick, and the pick that they should make, is Fernando Mendoza. I don't want to hear any Dan Orlovsky, Ty Simpson nonsense. Not going to happen. The Raiders are going to get Mendoza. They're going to get their quarterback. They're going to get the guy for the future. That's who they want to build around. That's just how it's going to be. They're going to build around Mendoza. So that's number one. Secondly, number two, the Jets. Now, I think what's going to happen is that the Jets are going to take Arvell Reese. They're going to take the Ohio State kid who had one big season. Very good player, but I think the more solid player is probably going to be David Bailey. That's the Texas Tech defensive end. I think that is the more solid player, and especially in a world where you don't know if you're holding on to Aaron Glenn, I think you have to make that pick because you don't know if Aaron Glenn's going to survive next season. So I would get the best, most solid player available because there's a very strong chance Glenn is out the door by the end of next season. By the end of this season, he could just be gone. Like, there's no guarantee that Glenn is there, right? So if Glenn goes, then yeah, you probably would rather take Bailey over Arvell Reese, who is very good, but also was kind of just came out of 1 year out of nowhere in Ohio State and has a lot to invest that draft capital in. Now, who do I have at 3? I do have Arvell Reese, however, going to the Cardinals. Because, in general, the only other players I could see them maybe taking are Jeremiah Love, the running back, because of injuries to James Conner. And, they cut DeMercado. They don't really have a great backfield. However, they're not in a position where it makes sense to draft a running back like that high because they have so many other issues. So, to me, I would go take Arvell Reese. I would improve the defense. I just get a stud. Get the best at that position, probably at that point after Bailey's gone. That's the best player available. Go with Reese. 4. After the Cardinals, the 4th pick is the Tennessee Titans. The Titans have basically lost their identity ever since Derrick Henry. They need to reestablish that identity, especially with the defensive head coach and Robert Saleh. I think Jeremiah Love makes the most sense. Give Cam Ward some help in the backfield. Get him some sort of running game. Again, it's not going to be a great offensive line, but I think you need to get something there. Get him at least a check down option. Get him a guy to at least gain a couple extra yards. I would probably go with Love. The receiver, Carnell Tate is also an option. Either one really kind of fits, but I think Love just fills much more of the need. Because if you're Robert Saleh, you want to grind games out, you want to have a running game, you want to play strong defense, it feels much more like a Saleh pick, and it feels like much more of a fit for the Titans in general. Number 5. A lot of people here have Sonny Styles, who I think has been rising up draft boards and is very good. However, I think if you're the Giants, you lose Wan'Dale Robinson in free agency. Malik Neighbors, is he on track to be fully healthy? Maybe. Maybe he's on track by week 1. If he's not, then that's an issue. And even if he is, how healthy is he? Because, again, not every athlete recovers the same from an ACL tear. And at the very least, you need another receiver to pair with him. Because right now, if I bring up the Giants' depth chart, past Malik Neighbors, I don't think it's very pretty. Right? Like, past Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, who's been there for years. Darnell Mooney's fine. Like, it's not terrible, but if you're being honest, like Calvin Austin, that's more of Calvin Austin's more of a gadget guy anyway. I don't know. I would personally go Tate. I know a lot of people would say Sonny Styles for the middle, and they're not wrong, but they also did pick up, like, Tremaine Edmonds. They still have, like, Brian Burns and Thibodeau. They have decent, like, linebackers on the outside and the inside. I would personally want to go Carnell Tate for the Giants. I think it makes a lot more. Sense considering you don't know the full status of Neighbors and you had lost Wan'Dale in free agency. Mark is saying Sonny Styles sounds like a gay OnlyFans content creator. Look, man. Sure, I'll let him know. I'll send him a text. I'll send Sonny a text. Let him know, like, hey, your name's kind of crazy. Looking at so that was my 5. Those are my first 5. I have all the way down to 13, so I'm going to keep it rolling. Browns now, they would have probably taken Tate at 5, but because I have the Giants taking them, their offensive line's abysmal. They basically are resetting their entire offensive line. They probably take the best one on the board. That's Francis Mayoga. Out of Florida. He's been one of the best tackles in college football for the last couple of years. So he's definitely, I think, and again, not that they ever made the playoffs with him, but they need their Joe Thomas. They need someone that they can protect. You don't know who's going to play quarterback. Could be Gabriel Sanders, Watson, for all we know. But regardless, the guys, whoever's back there needs some protection, needs some help on the offensive line. Go out, get the Miami tackle, start solidifying some of your offensive line, and go from there. Because, again, let me reiterate this. Cleveland's not looking at this draft for QBs, and I wouldn't be either. I would be looking to get as much talent as possible and then go get your guy in 2027. That would be my logic if I'm the Browns. But don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about, dude. Just, take Ty Simpson at 6, please. I'm joking, obviously, being a Steelers fan. Number 7 is the Washington Commanders. They could go on a couple numbers. I know that, the only issue with them is that right now, you want to help Jaden Daniels. But here's the thing. You also, Dan Quinn's a defensive coach. He needs his defense to be better. That team arguably overperformed probably a lot in 2024 and then significantly underperformed in 2025. They need to bounce back. I think Sonny Styles makes a lot of sense here because you have Bobby Wagner, who's older. You're not actually, Bobby Wagner isn't even on the team anymore. Where even is he? There's no way he's still on the Commanders, right? No, not Bobby Wagner draft. Where even is he? Is he still, did he sign somewhere? Or is he a free agent? He might be a free agent. No, there's no way. Oh, he is a free agent. Interesting. So we don't know if he's going to play. Did the Commanders re-sign him? You're going to be missing him. Sonny Styles makes a lot of sense to go 7. I know people think Sonny Styles might go earlier, but if he falls to 7, I see no reason why the Commanders shouldn't take him, and that's where I have him going right now. So I would say Sonny at 8 or at 7. And then at 8, the Saints at their depth chart, listen, their cornerbacks are poopy. Like, if you pull up the Saints depth chart, like, Quincy Riley, Jordan Howden, and then I guess Kool-Aid McKinstry. And then they have Beanie Bishop, but Beanie Bishop suspended for the first 3 games. Former Steelers slot corner. Sometimes a dog, but also sometimes kind of buns. They need help at corner, especially after they moved off Marshawn Lattimore a previous season ago. So they want their corner, especially in a division with Drake London, in a division with the up-and-coming Tet McMillan, and then depending on if Egbuka can bounce back, then you already have a division with a couple strong receivers. I would definitely, and they've been scouting I believe it's the LSU kid. I believe it's LSU. Yeah, the LSU kid, Mansour Delane. I believe he was one of their top 30 visits, right? They had a top 30 visit with him. I think that's who they go, just because they may trade back to try to just get help for Shuck. But I just don't see Mekhi Lemon going that high. He could if they believe receivers that big of an issue. But the way Olave came on down the stretch with Shuck, I don't think that's where they go, and I think they look closer to the later rounds to try to help out Shuck. And I think they just get the best their personal player available here. Now, the Chiefs get interesting. The Chiefs are very interesting for the fact of the matter is I really don't know who they're going to take. Like, they could take, because it feels like they have a lot of issues, especially after the struggle last year. Mahomes coming off an ACL injury. The offensive line clearly needs work, but is there an offensive lineman worth taking outside of, Monroe Freeling? There's also, the Utah tackles and Fano and Lomu, I believe. It's outside Lomu. I'd take best player available. If I'm Chiefs, I would just go take Ruben Bain. And that's who I have. I have Bain going 9. And listen, Karlaftis, very good player on the edge. So that makes sense. Chris Jones is not getting any younger, right? At a certain point, you need to get a more solidified player to be, part of the defense. And part of what the Chiefs' even strength was, and even has been in the last 2 years, has arguably been their defense. And they may need to go ahead and solidify that. I see no reason why not to take Bain at 9. Because the only other options would be either Mekhi Lemon, maybe, if you don't buy into Xavier Worthy at this point, if you're ready to just say that hasn't worked in 2 years, it's just not has not taken the step we thought. There's also Kenyon Sadiq, but at 9 seems kind of high. If I were them, I would have traded back. And I mean, again, they gave Kelsey a 3-year extension. They think he's sticking around longer than that. I wouldn't think they would draft Sadiq yet, and if they were going to take a tight end, it'd probably be later. 11. Or no, not 11. That was 9. Chiefs are 9. 10. The Bengals. This is the easiest pick for me so far. When I saw this, it's Caleb Downs. And I don't think Caleb, I think especially with the degenerative ACL, that could pose a problem down the stretch. At the same time, I think you can pinpoint when the Bengals defense fell off. It was really the loss of Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates was a incredibly valuable member to that Cincinnati Bengals defense, and it cannot be understated the loss it was to them when he goes to Atlanta. So when I'm thinking of Cincinnati, I think they want to try to rebuild that. They might look at a Downs and say, well, it really struggled. We struggled at the back end when we lost Jesse Bates. Why not go get Downs, the safety out of Ohio State at number 10? Clearly the best safety in the draft. Clearly a blue chip caliber player. Go out and take him. You might have some concerns with the degenerative ACL, but at the end of the day, you need help on defense no matter what. I would do it. And I was surprised that he only had one, I think, top 30 visit, and it was Dallas. And obviously Dallas would love to have him. But if I'm Cincinnati, your issue is defense. You got to go on the defense side of the ball in some category. Take the best player available. And then if we look at Cincinnati, now I go to Miami at the 11th pick, and they have to take a receiver. They have to take a receiver. So I have Mekhi Lemon going to them at 11 because really you can't strut out Malik Washington and Malik Washington and friends and just be like, yep, this is our receiving core. They need to take somebody. Kenyon Sadiq potentially also another option, the Oregon tight end. But again, I'm probably rolling with the receiver. So that's where I would go there. And then for Dallas at 12 with Downs off the board, they probably need to go corner because we're well past the days of Duron Bland and Trevon Diggs being good quality starting corners. You need to go get a guy, Jermon McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee, probably the best overall, probably the best cornerback at that point if Delane is gone, which I believe he will be. Probably the best fit there. And then for the Rams, who have the 13th pick, I'm going to be honest, they could also go a number of different ways. I think they're looking for contributors right now. The best option I would see, probably one of the Utah tackles, and I think, generally speaking, I think people have Spencer Fano rated higher than someone like Caleb Lomu. They're very similar, but I would probably look to get better at tackle because, listen, whether Matthew Stafford retires after one season or 4 more seasons, you need to protect whoever your quarterback is, whether it is the old guy or it is a young guy of the future. Probably good to lock down that tackle position now when you have the veteran guy's leadership and is able to actually coach up the tackles. Then there's Baltimore. I think Baltimore, as weird as it is, and there's a couple interesting options on the board that I'm looking at. By the way, I had pre-picked 1 through 13. Everything else I'm going to be kind of picking as we're doing this, just to give you a heads up. I'm just kind of looking through. Peter Woods, the Clemson defensive tackle, makes a lot of sense, especially with Matabuke losing the neck injury, and they don't know, if you're looking at, say, let me bring up their depth chart real quick. If you're looking at, well, is he going to be back? What's his status? Where do we go from there, right? I mean, where are they gonna go? I mean, they have very good players at a lot of different levels, right? They're gonna have Trey Hendrickson, they're gonna have Wiggins. The other option is wide receiver, which is very possible because, I mean, after Zay Flowers, it's Rashad Bateman and then Devontae Walker. So wide receiver could also be a very strong point of contention, but it really depends because you just hired a defensive coach. You just hired a defensive head coach, Chargers defensive coordinator, right? I mean, at that point, maybe that does sway the decision of saying maybe we reach for a Peter Woods. I would probably say that is what they're gonna do. It's either Peter Woods or it's like Jordan Tyson. Those I think are the two. And to be honest, I'm gonna say Tyson. I'm gonna say the Ravens take Jordan Tyson because the reality is, look, he's the third best wide receiver in the league, in the class. At the very least, you have a wide receiver 3 behind Flowers and Bateman, and he can grow into potentially a wide receiver 2 role. And I mean, they need help. You got to help Lamar at a certain point, right? Like, that's the idea, helping out Lamar Jackson at that point. So I think Jordan Tyson there makes a lot of sense. Then come the Bucs. Bucs are interesting because they really don't need an offensive tackle, despite the fact that those are the 2 probable highest on the board, with the Georgia tackle Monroe Freeling and then the Utah tackle Caleb Lomu. Kenyon Sadiq, I've seen a lot of people say Sadiq go to the Bucs. I feel like the Bucs are hazy to do that just because of, I mean, I would, but that's just because of history with like OJ Howard. I mean, they could also take Peter Woods maybe to pair with Vita Vea. I'm really trying to think what their biggest, really also losing Levante David doesn't help either. That's kind of my thought process here, but there's really no linebacker that you would really take that high. I mean, anything else at that point probably is going to be a reach. I mean, Jacob Rodriguez is probably not going that high. I mean, he could, but I mean, that feels like a reach at that point. I think someone also said something about this draft class where it's not like historic. I think it was the Patriots GM. It's not really a historic class. It's a solid class, but it almost gives like 2013 vibes. Like, it's going to have some gems, but the majority of it is going to be like potentially mediocre. I would say, you know what? I'm not going to beat around the bush. They did lose Mike Evans. And Emeka Egbuka, you're not confident. Let's look at the Bucs depth chart. The Bucs depth chart is looking like, yeah, Cade Otton is still the starting tight end. Yeah, That is true. I'm going to say yeah. You know what? I'm going to buy into the hype, and I'm going to buy in that they would take Kenyon Sadiq here. I mean, he's the best tight end on the board, and it's a reasonable spot to draft him at 15. It's not too much of a reach either. Especially because, I mean, Cade Otton's good, but he's just, not incredibly athletic. As for the Jets, now the Jets have the 16th pick because that was the Colts pick, which actually worked out pretty well for them making that trade. The question is, you need help on the interior offensive line. You obviously need a quarterback. Do you draft Ty Simpson here is the question. Do you go ahead and you reach on Ty Simpson? Is that the question? Is that a possibility that they would go ahead and pull the trigger on Ty Simpson at 16? My guess is no, because again, the quarterback class in next year's class is so good. But I mean, they just need so much help everywhere. I kind of they're already very good at tackle, so I don't think they would take the tackles either. They could potentially move them to guard if they wanted to. I kind of like the Keldrick Falk pick, though. Auburn kid. I mean, not bad. 7 sacks, 11 tackles in 2024. Not so much production in 2025, though, which is a little concerning. I would probably... Yeah, you know what? We'll say the Jets would I would say Jets would take Falk. It makes some amount of sense. You pair now 2 defensive ends, right? That's also true. Would they take Bailey and then also Falk? You know what? We'll say for now that they'll take Falk. Because, I mean, listen, there's no wrong answer in double dipping on the defense, especially if you're Aaron Glenn. It does kind of make a little bit of sense there in that regard. The Lions would then take a tackle. The question is it Monroe Freeling or is it Caleb Lomu? It could be either one, to be completely honest. I mean, it really depends on where you have them ranked. I'm going to say they probably take the other Utah tackle and Lomu. I'm just not as big on the Georgia kid. I'm just not that moved by him. I mean, he could be very good, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not as sold on Freeling going that high. Because I think he's ranked as just outside of the top 10. I think it could be a little bit of a slide for our boy Freeling. 18th now are the Vikings. Wait, what? Does not let me go past 17? I thought I just drafted him. Hello? Zoom draft. Thank you. Okay. I guess I need to just resume. All right. Also, I just saw both guys Samoan, both guys somehow related to The Rock. I think both will be good. Oh, yeah, both the Utah tackles? Yeah, most likely. Especially because I got one going to the Lions, one going to the Rams. Kind of, Matt Stafford's houses, I think they'll both be fairly good. And especially, it's rare to see 2 tackles on the same team be that good. So I would probably roll that they will be. Vikings at 18. Honestly, at some point, I think also, why not say this is the draft where the Vikings go ahead and look for the long-term replacement to Harrison Smith? I like Dylan Thiedman. And I mean, it is a very overall good safety class. But I'm looking at the Oregon safety and saying, you know what? Go get your next Harry the Hitman, man. Go get your next Harry the Hitman. Go get I think Dylan Thiedman is destined to be a Viking. Just based on the fact that it's Harry the Hitman is not getting any younger, right? That part is obvious. The Vikings do need some help at the safety position at some point. Why not? Why not get him in, get him under? I mean, I know they have Metellus, but do they even? Oh, they may not even have Harrison Smith anymore. They may not have kept him around. He may be a free agent right now. I mean, Metellus is good at the safety spot on the depth chart, but generally speaking, Metellus they use a lot as in the box anyway. I feel like Thiedman works really well. Metellus is almost basically a linebacker more so than a safety. Let me see. Where is Harrison Smith and what is he doing? What's my boy Harry the Hitman doing? Is he a free agent right now? He's 37. Man, yeah, he ain't young. He ain't getting any younger, so I do think it makes a lot of sense. I do hope he sticks around. He's almost at 40. He's got 39 picks. I hope he signs with someone next year and gets his 40th interception. That's what I hope. Now we get into the playoff teams. We're getting to the playoff teams. We're getting through 19 through 32. We got the Carolina Panthers. They could definitely use a tackle. And hey, you know what? I think this is probably where Freeling could get drafted. Again, he could continue to slide, but I think at that point, Carolina knows they need to protect Bryce Young. They need to help him out. And I think that's where they go. They would probably take Freeling at the 19th spot. And then Dallas comes back on the board at 20. Whose pick is this? Whose pick did they get? Oh, Green Bay's. They got Green Bay's first round pick. They're the Packers' first round pick. This is where, again, I think they could go. We've already seen them go corner. We've already got a corner there. I mean, it has to be somewhere on the defense side of the ball. The question is, I'm wondering if, because again, Jerry Jones likes his stars, right? And I'm thinking about all these guys and thinking who's the biggest star player, because I don't think they take Peter Woods. I think Peter Woods probably falls a little bit from his general spot at 20 because Jerry Jones wants a star, right? He's already got his he's got Jeremiah McCoy, but he wants another star level player. And to me, of all these guys, there really isn't one though. I keep thinking oh, he wants a star, but there really isn't one. I guess if I were picking from Dallas's perspective, you've already added Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark. You have the interior. You add another corner. There's no real running back that you take this high, remotely not even close. The only, unless Jerry's crazy and tries to add a third receiver, but I would say you're either taking someone like Caden McDonald, who could ultimately be the best defensive tackle. If some people do have him ranked as the number one defensive tackle. And you got an Ohio State kid. I think that's probably where they go. I'll say the Cowboys